Alright, Ubuntu Server GUI. We're going to install the XFCE desktop on Ubuntu Server. There are two different packages you can use for this. You can use the XFCE 4 package and the Xubuntu-desktop package. I'm going to demonstrate installing both of these and take a quick look over their features. The first package, XFCE 4, is going to give you a more stripped down experience, and you're going to get a lot less stuff by default, which is kind of better for a server, but we'll be able to actually compare these and see what we get coming up. The Xubuntu desktop package is the full desktop install for Xubuntu and is going to come with a whole lot more stuff and boot into X Windows by default. We're going to take a look at this also. So we're going to run apt-get update. This is just going to update our list of what packages are available. Run this on both hosts. So it doesn't take too long for both of them to be complete. Now we're going to install the actual packages, just using sudo apt-get install -y so we don't have to press Y later on to confirm. Installing the XFCE 4 desktop on the left side and the Xubuntu desktop on the right side. This will take a little while, so we're just going to leave it here. Feel free to skip ahead if you don't want to sit here and watch this. Otherwise, it's just going to keep going for a little bit. Afterwards, once we have the desktops installed, we're going to do the actual demoing of the desktops and showing which one has which features. Alright, so it looks like both of these have finished installing their respective desktop environment packages. Let's start one of them up and see how they work. So for this first one, right, we pretty much type start X, and it comes up with an X Windows environment. Basic XFCE desktop. We don't have XDM, so we don't get a login screen. There's no graphical login screen. If you reboot, you'll come up in text mode. You have to log in text mode and type start X anytime you want to run X Windows like this. So we're going to shut it down, reboot it, and just show how this works. Meanwhile, we're going to reboot the other one also, so we can compare them. So both booting up side by side. We'll note on the right the Xubuntu desktop system boots into a graphical login prompt, whereas the XFCE4 desktop boots into a text-based login prompt. They both still have X Windows installed, just one boots up with X Windows running by default and lets you use a graphical login. Alright, so logging in on the XFCE4 system. Run start X again and get back into our desktop. And logging into the Xubuntu desktop system. These are using the same back-end packages. It's just this version has more packages and more things installed. It's more polished, but it has the same. It's based off of the same packages as the other system. It actually has to install the XFCE4 desktop as a dependency. So you'll notice the one on the right is scaled bigger by default. You could play around with that with either of them. The one on the right has one bar by default. It didn't even ask you. It just went right ahead with that. It optimized it a bit. It added like transparencies on the taskbar, which is kind of nice if you like that. It has things like it shows the power if you were on a laptop. We're on a VM now, so it doesn't make a difference. But it has the widget to show power, whereas the other one doesn't, and you would have to add it by hand if you were on a laptop. Note the menu here is pretty plain, whereas the menu over here is specially customized for XFCE. Nice desktop with a lot of things pre-installed. Has a little search bar at the top by default. It's a little bit nicer. Has the same categories and stuff. You know, it has Firefox installed by default, Thunderbird, and some other random things. There's XFCE4, doesn't have quite so much. Almost nothing for our multimedia, almost no Office. Not a whole lot of stuff comes pre-installed with this. You basically get an Xterm and not a whole lot else. This one you see under accessories, you see a ton of stuff. You see things you'd expect, like a calculator, notepad, all sorts of standard things you would expect with an operating system. It even comes with a lot of things you wouldn't always expect by default. Comes with you can play media if you need to. You couldn't on the other, so that all comes by default. If you don't need this stuff, it's a lot of extra stuff. Comes with Office. Basically an Office, almost a full Office suite. Comes with spreadsheets and text editing or word processing. So pretty much it doesn't come with the full suite, and we can see how that works later. We could actually install the full suite manually if we wanted to, but yeah, you do get a ton more stuff. If you click over here on desktop settings, 2 wallpapers by default. It's not a big deal because you can pretty much just download any wallpapers you want. Doing a Google image search, find all sorts of great wallpapers, so it doesn't really matter. But it just shows, how it's a good way to compare how much is included with each one. You notice on the right here in the Xubuntu system, they have a ton of wallpapers, all sorts of neat photos of things. I usually don't even use these. I usually find something customized myself, but there's just a whole lot more stuff there by default. Just out of the box, without even doing anything. Notice over here, if you launch the web browser, it comes up with Firefox. It's installed by default. Which is kind of an important thing for a desktop system usually. Notice over here, we have the web browser launcher. It's just a generic web browser launcher, and it fails to launch a web browser. And that's because there is no web browser installed. Once we do install a web browser, that button will actually work to launch that web browser. That's whether it be Firefox or Chrome or whatever else. It's going to launch whatever the default web browser is from that same icon, which is kind of neat. So running another sudo apt-get update, it's just good to run every time before you install a package. Just to keep things up to date and make sure you have the latest everything, even though we did just run this a little while ago. It's probably not completely necessary, but we're doing it anyway. And we're going to install a GNOME terminal. Just use apt-get install to install a GNOME terminal. It's a little bit nicer than this X terminal that we're using right now. Transparencies, better fonts, etc., etc. You could use either one just fine, but I just happen to prefer the other one. 2 great options are XFCE terminal or GNOME terminal, either one. Neither of those comes installed by default on the XFCE4 system, whereas if you install the full Xubuntu-desktop package, you're at least going to get the Xubuntu, or you're at least going to get the XFCE terminal, but you won't get a GNOME terminal by default. So here we're just installing GNOME terminal because it's the first thing that comes to mind. It's pretty standard terminal to have, and it's nice. And there we go. When we click on the terminal button, it comes up with the GNOME terminal by default. We don't need our X terminal anymore. Kill that. First thing I usually do is change the font. All personal preference, but I like to have it a little bit customized. Use green on black. It's easier on the eyes. Set a transparency so it looks nice and pretty. Adjust it a little bit just so you can see it a little better, and there we go. We have a nice pretty GNOME terminal installed on our VM. From here we'll install whatever else we need. So we're going to do an apt-get install gedit. This is going to give us a basic text editor, which is kind of essential in a desktop environment. I mean, you could always use VI from the terminal, but you know, if we're using a graphical environment, we also want a graphical text editor. It's just kind of a basic thing to have. And I'm not seeing it on the menu here anywhere, so apparently it doesn't get stuck there by default. We can find it if we search for it and just drag it over to our launcher bar. And now we have gedit installed. We have tabbed text editing, multiple documents in different tabs. It's just pretty nice. This is basic text editing, everything you could really want. Now we're going to install Firefox. This is what you would have to do if you wanted to get a browser on this system. The other one comes with it by default, but again, the other system comes with a ton of other stuff by default. It's a whole lot more bloated. It's not as trimmed down and probably not geared towards a server. But if you're running your server as a desktop system, it's up to you. You might want more stuff, or you might want to go with less stuff by default and pick and choose what you want to have installed. So it looks like it installed successfully. Now we click the web browser launcher, generic web browser launcher, and it launches Firefox because Firefox is now installed. Load a basic web page and see that things are working. Load a web page kind of slowly, but it loads in. It's up and working. Going to blame the speeds on me being on a VM, maybe. So notice over here, this system doesn't come with gedit by default, but it does come with mousepad by default. The XFCE4 system on the left came with no graphical text editor at all, whereas this system on the right at least comes with the mousepad installed, which is pretty much the equivalent of gedit. On the left, we could have installed mousepad too, but we chose to install gedit just because, and now we can see how they look different. We could install both of these packages on either system if we want. We pretty much have the flexibility to install mousepad and gedit on either system. Just one comes with it by default, the other we actually have to go through the trouble of installing it. So on the system on the left, we're going to install Google Chrome. Now, neither of these systems comes with Google Chrome. No matter which package you choose, you're going to have to install it yourself manually. You could install it by going to the Google site and downloading their package, but we're going to show you the command line method to do it. It's a little better, faster to reproduce if you're copying and pasting the command, which we're not here. Uh, you could do it either way. We're going to show you this way. The other way, which is a little probably easier, is to just download the package. Use Firefox. Go to Google's website and download the Chrome package and install it from there. Both take a tiny bit of work. We're going to show you this way. It's a little bit more involved. You're getting more information about how it works. So we've started out that first wget command just pulls down the key for the repo, and this command is actually going to add the repo to our system. This way, this is kind of a little bit better. It actually adds the repo, adds Google's repo, so that anytime we want to update, we can use this repo to update. Chrome's really going to update itself anyways, but yeah, we can pretty much, we're not just installing a package, we're installing the repo so that we can pull the package down from the repo. Looks like I failed to include the closing quote on that. There we go. This time it worked. We have the repo added. We're going to run an apt-get update. This time we really do need to run apt-get update because we added a whole new repo and we won't have any of that information cached unless we do run apt-get update. So that's essential if we want things to work at this point. And apt-get update finished. So now we're going to actually run apt-get install -y Google Chrome. Specifically Google Chrome stable. And we see it installing. It'll take a little while. It's going to be worth it once we have it installed. You could just as very well stick with Firefox if you prefer Firefox. If you do like Google Chrome, great. We're showing you how to install it. I personally like to do everything with Google Chrome. If it's not your thing or you just don't like Google for whatever reason, Firefox is completely fine. So long as you have the option and know how to basically pick what you prefer. So that was it. It wasn't really that long. Looks like we have Chrome installed. Click on the generic web browser launcher on our launcher menu or on our launcher bar. And it's asking me if I want Google Chrome to be the default. So basically tell them we don't want to send any information to Google, no more than what they do automatically without asking us. And there we go, launches Google Chrome. Loads a web page. It was faster than Firefox. Maybe it's just a browser issue. Maybe Chrome is better. Maybe it's just luck. We're not really comparing browsers. You can make that own choice depending on your own preference. But there we go. Google Chrome is now installed and launching by default. So now we're going to install LibreOffice on the system on the left. Basically, it doesn't come with any Office packages by default on our XFCE4 based system, whereas the other one came with some Office packages. So the system on the left came with no Office packages. System on the right came with basically word processing and spreadsheets. So 2 of the LibreOffice packages. So our system on the left, we're going to install the full suite. So basically apt-get install LibreOffice. You want the full command, you can pretty much, you can freeze the video back there or you could grab it off our website. But this will install the full LibreOffice package, giving you basically everything. It's going to give you like database access and presentations and all that other stuff. Basically the whole Office suite. So it'll actually give you more when you manually install the LibreOffice package. You'll get more Office stuff. You could also just as well run this on the Xubuntu-desktop system and get more stuff, period. You get the full Office suite and everything else that comes with it. So whichever way you prefer, you can get a full Office suite on either system. And looks like it completed. Let's try to find it on the menu. Looks like we have like a ton of things. We have LibreOffice Math, LibreOffice Impress, Draw, Writer, Calc, Base, pretty much a huge suite of Office stuff installed now. Which is what we get by picking and choosing. And now we have an error. Looks like it's a VirtualBox error, nothing with our operating system, but with the VM itself. This is basically the point where I cut the video out for a second to try to figure out what's wrong, but I actually determined that it's a disk space issue. So I'm going to try rebooting the machine, and when the video cuts back in, here we go, video is cut back in, and we're actually taking the time to look at the actual error. Looks like the disk is full. It's not the disk on my VM, it's the disk on my desktop. So the disk on my desktop that I'm using for VMs, for VM storage, has actually filled up because I didn't make sure I had enough space for it. So as the VM disk grew, ran out of the actual physical disk, ran out of space, and that's what happens. Interesting end to our video. We don't actually get to see me launching LibreOffice, which is fine. I think it's super exciting watching someone click on LibreOffice and launch it. We can launch it on this other desktop if we like, but yeah, installing it is the tricky part, not actually launching the application. So not a whole lot else we're going to do today. If you found the video useful, if any of this stuff was handy, like our video, subscribe, just like and subscribe. That's pretty much it for today.